Hello, Kathleen Larkin here, and I couldn't be more honored today to recognize on behalf of the entire HR community, John Touey and Sally Stetson of the Salveson Stetson Group for their enormous impact to the entire HR community during COVID. To give a little bit background in terms of that story, you might remember back when COVID started, as we were all operating individually, trying to find our way in the dark to figure things out. And it was John and Sally that gave of themselves. They brought calm to the storm. They mobilized quickly to form a network. And as leaders and true partners, they brought us together as a community. They created a network, built an inclusive space for us to share, to learn, to ask questions, and fostered a really supportive community. Together, in terms of what they did and their impact, not only did they make us as leaders stronger, but they made our leadership team stronger, our employees better served, our companies better performing. It literally impacted thousands of lives because of what they did during this pandemic and stepping up and bringing us together as a community. You can see in the program book that there were many folks who wrote in and shared their testimonial of the impact that John and Sally had directly on them. Some of the words that were chosen were calm to the storm, bringing order to chaos. They brought safety, camaraderie, created friendships that will last far beyond COVID. So they made sure that no one felt alone. They were a lifeline. They listened, they were partners, they cared. They defined innovation. Put simply, John and Sally, you are our heroes, and we are incredibly grateful for all that you've done, and congratulations on this award, very well deserved.
Thank you. This is John Touey speaking on behalf of Sally Stetson. We're overwhelmed by this. We were not expecting it. And we really appreciate all the good thoughts that you and the rest of the human resource community have sent out to us. And we started this. I think myself and my partners at the Human Resources Executive Alliance, and John Ford and Scott's, Rosen and David Panett and Ellen Peterson, along with Sally Stetson, who runs the Senior HR Roundtable here locally. We're chatting in mid-March because we're all getting the same questions from folks about how are you doing this, how are you doing that. That evolved into I looked it up. We did our first Zoom video conference with that group on appropriately Friday the 13th in March, and got a group of senior HR leaders together, about 40 of you together, and that evolved into an ongoing discussion group and periodic meetings with about 140 senior HR leaders, mostly in the HR, mostly in the Delaware Valley, but also from as far away as Seattle, and Texas, and New York, and North Carolina. And what has been, we've just provided a venue where you could talk to one another. And I can't tell you how gratifying it's been to see how generous the human resources community has been with each other. You all have the same COVID response plans and return to work plans because you all shared them with one another. And it's amazing how and great to see how much everybody was willing to share in an environment which was just a complete crisis. And I also want to congratulate everybody because aside from the great people at Doylestown Health and Virtua and Penn Medicine who are treating, COVID patients on a daily basis, nobody in the corporate functions has worked harder than HR through this crisis. It is amazing to see the impacts the human resources departments have had on their organizations through this crisis. And I would be remiss if I didn't say how much of an impact that this same people have had from a diversity, equity, and inclusion standpoint since the killing of George Floyd in late May. To see this group pivot and manage another crisis in addition to the pandemic and work for issues around racial justice and make sure that those conversations were being had in their organizations in addition to continuing to manage the ongoing crisis from a pandemic perspective. It's just been amazing to see, and our ability to help facilitate that communication amongst all of you has not been a chore. It's been just one of the great privileges that I've had in my life to be able to do this. So Sally and I do appreciate the kudos, but really it's this group that is gathered around this virtual table that really deserves the credit for how well this community has done throughout this crisis. So we want to thank you, Sally. I don't know if you want to add anything.
A quick comment, John, because I think you said it so well. We've been thrilled to provide this critical support because we know you've been working 24/7, but I'd like to thank my friend and colleague, John Touey, who did so much heavy lifting during this time period. And I saw him behind the scenes. So thank you so much for this special recognition. It means a great deal to us.